Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bassam Haddad. I'm your host for this seventh emergency teach in. Why is the US not doing enough to support Israel? In today's emergency teach in, we will be discussing this really bewildering question with our experts Sinan Antoon, our cultural landscape expert, Adel Iskandar, our media landscape expert, and myself, Bassam Haddad, our social science expert. A quick intro to our speakers. Sinan Antoon is a poet, novelist, scholar, and translator. He is associate professor at New York University. Adel Iskandar is an associate professor of global communication at Simon Fraser University and director of the Center for Comparative Muslim Studies. I myself, actually, Bassam Haddad, is founding director of the Middle East and Islamic Studies program and associate professor at the Shar School at George Mason University. Welcome, Adel and Sinan, and welcome to myself as well to our regularly scheduled emergency teach-in. The question on everyone's mind, everyone with a conscience, that is, why is the United States not doing enough to support Israel? We will start with Sinan. Sinan, as our cultural landscape expert, can you please help us answer this very disappointing prospect?
Thank you, Bassam. Tell me about it. I'm not sure he remembers, but right after October 7th, President shared values between Israel and the US. And he was right. Israel is the disciple who has the potential to outshine the master genocider. Now, according to the Economist YouGov poll, 35% of Americans say Israel is committing genocide, but 36% of US citizens say it isn't, and 29% are still undecided, which is quite shocking that not everyone is on the same side. There is so much the Biden administration and all decent people could do in terms of more military support to help Israel go on so as to convince the 36% who don't think it's a genocide and the brilliant 29% undecided ones as well that it is committing genocide, to turn the tide and be on the right side of history, side with a C here, mind you. Now look, throughout the decades, whenever a dictator needed some tender love and ammunition, the US was always there. The US's message to dictators and genocidal regimes was always, you'll never walk alone. Settler colonialism is a foundational value in the United States. And when another settler colonial nation is trying to achieve some of what the US did, why not give them what they would have given the US had they existed back in the day? American politicians who do not support Israel sufficiently are so myopic and selfish and so un-American. What is more important and urgent, I ask you? Education, infrastructure, healthcare, economic disparity in the United States, or supporting settler colonialism in the Holy Land? Where is the moral GPS? What is more humane and American? The funds squandered on meals for American children from food insecure families should instead provide, for example, dessert for Israeli soldiers doing the good work over there. To accelerate and maximize support for Israel, perhaps it should be declared temporarily an American state. Israelis should be allowed to vote in US elections. Israeli politicians should run for office in the United States to replace our cowardly, woke leftists. Israeli voters and politicians will bring to our shores their sober and level-headed worldview and will help guide and safeguard the humanity of our domestic and international policies. Their first-hand and practical experience in apartheid and genocide will truly make America great again. And any US citizen who questions the US's support for Israel and its policies should come before the soon-to-be hopefully formed House Committee for Un-Israeli Activities. So make America great and proud again now. Do you want your grandchildren to ask you years from now, Did you stand aside and let Israel do all the heavy lifting of genocide on its own? Oh, and if this ICJ court tomorrow votes against Israel, it should be bombed by the United States. Well, no, it's Europe. So it should be moved to a country in the global south and then bombed back to sanity. So call your representatives and make some noise. I turn it over now to our social science expert, Bassam Haddad.
Thank you very much, Sinan. I really appreciate your comments about what more can the US do to support Israel, because it's not doing enough. And we all know that. Yeah, it's infuriating. I have to pronounce the R. It's infuriating. It's infuriating. It's infuriating. We know. Sharing and defending genocidal values with the US's closest and dearest ally, Israel, is not enough. Supporting antisemites, so long as they support Israel, is not enough. Sending more than 2,000 bunker buster bombs is not enough. After all, a few neighborhoods are still standing. Yeah. What happened to complete annihilation? There must be something more the United States can do to support Israel's slaughtering of another people. An Israeli was caught on camera, right there, saying, "I see living people." How can we live with this? Shame. Haven't we learned enough from our predecessors? I have a clip for you.
Secretary Kissinger really set the standard for everyone who followed in this job.
Yeah. Where are we from that? First, right off the bat, Israel has killed only 30,000 Palestinians. How shameful is that for its biggest supporter, the US? Truly embarrassing, if you ask me. You want to tell me the United States government, responsible for indiscriminate aerial bombardment of Cambodia under the stewardship of Henry Kissinger and killing thousands of civilians in that bombardment and carpet bombing, and setting the stage for the Cambodian genocide of nearly 2 million, and that's only in Cambodia, that the same United States can't get its act together and do more for Israel's genocide? I don't know. On the other hand, the US is probably jealous. It has not pulled off crimes against humanity at this scale for some time now. It's been, 20 years since we decimated Iraq? The US is getting rusty, folks, but probably has no interest in helping Israel more than it already is to surpass its own barbarism. Or maybe there's more to it. In the final analysis, Israel is just not Zionist enough for Biden. Yeah. In 1982, Senator Biden, now president, had to be held back by none other than the founder of the Likud party and then Prime Minister of Israel, Menachem Begin, who invaded Lebanon and killed upwards of 17,000 people. I was there. Biden thought Israel can go further. Begin was satisfied with that much slaughter. Biden never got over it. Why would you ever stop killing Arabs? So he's making good on his 41 years of frustration. Not enough Arabs died. The Onion, bless their soul, captured this moment when trying to explain why the US is unrelenting in pushing for more death. And finally, as Biden said very, very clearly,
don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
We'll turn now to our media landscape expert, Professor Adel Iskandar. Adel, how do we explain ما خلصت شو بك؟
Okay.
Adel, how do we explain this unspeakable شو قصتك؟ How do we explain this unspeakable lack of support by the United States of Israel as it completes its genocide?
Thank you so much, Bassam. Really appreciate this opportunity. As media scholars, we often employ textual and discourse analyses to understand better subliminal messages in content. In the tradition of the late cultural studies theorist Stuart Hall, we actively examine how messages are encoded by senders and decoded by receivers. Sometimes the source is the misunderstanding, and sometimes we interpret messages. It's like getting the thinking emoticon, you know, the one that looks like this? Seriously, what does it mean? Nobody has any idea. And what about that eggplant emoji? Do you just want some of my baba ganoush? What does it mean? But let's set aside food porn for now and focus specifically on Israel and messages that are interpreted and misinterpreted between Israel and the White House. Israel has been sending unanswered messages and calls to the White House, and the US has been stingy. Israel is a patient on life support, as we all know, and the US is a doctor missing in action. Why isn't the US prepared to take a bullet for Israel? Why isn't the US prepared to throw itself under an IDF tank for Israel? In 2022, US agencies allotted Israel about $3.3 billion in aid, nearly all of which was designated towards military aid, and more than twice that of any other country. However, that sum was 7%, which is less than any other year that the United States gave money to Israel. So the real question is, what happened in 2022 for Israel aid to stop from the United States? Yeah. Enter Ukraine. Ukraine surpassed Israel as the top US aid recipient, taking in more than $12 billion after Russia invaded the country in February of that year. That amounts to more than 25% of all aid designated for specific countries in that year. In 2021, prior to Russia's invasion, Ukraine was not even in the top 20 recipients of US foreign aid. So that means in 2022, Ukraine received $12.4 billion, while Israel had to settle for crumbs of $3.3 billion. What can you do with $3.3 billion? And at the height of Israel's war of survival against existential threats from Palestinian babies and watermelons and white flags, in Israel's time of greatest need, Biden pushes to send Ukraine $110 billion in mostly military aid, while only reserving $14 billion for Israel. Absolutely preposterous and shocking for most observers. As media scholars, we also try to examine messages that are produced, but we have to do some verification. And today, I'm really, really, really excited to be sharing a leaked letter provided to us by the hacker group Synonymous. It is a letter apparently from Benjamin Netanyahu to Joe Biden. So I'll proceed to read portions of this letter, revealed for the very first time. My beloved Joey, something has changed. The way you look at me, the way you speak to me, the way you What did I do to upset you? After 75 years of memories together, what is it? Am I getting older? 75 years. I still take good care of myself. I go to the coiffeur every week. Look, in Al-Abuk. I do all the household ethnic cleansing chores as best I can. What is it? Is it the cooking? Are you bored of sabra hummus? Should I change my recipes? I don't know what it is. No, actually, I do know what it is. I know what it is. You keep coming home smelling of pierogies. It's that new fling you picked up on Tinder. Ukraine? I see the late night SMSs. Have you forgotten our Nekbe love notes back when we were pen pals? Yeah, pen pals. You remember writing those notes to me? Sure, things aren't steamy like those old days, but our love is true. It's deep. It's tried and tested. تخون العشرة يا حيوان? I saw the diamond ring you got Ukraine. How much did you spend on that? I'll tell you. Ukraine is a gold digger. She'll leave you housebroken. You've forgotten our love. And yes, I'm jealous. You should see my Spotify playlist. Honestly, I'm devastated. From Janet Jackson, What Have You Done For Me Lately? I'm even listening to Lately on loop. Not the Jodeci and Mary J. Blige cover, but the Stevie Wonder original. Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. We only say goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to black. I couldn't even get through the Super Mario Brothers movie with Jack Black singing Peaches. Peach, you're so cool. And with my star, we're gonna rule. Peach, understand. I'm gonna love you till the very end. Princess Peach, at the end of the line, I'll make you mine. Sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Please excuse me. But you'll get back to me, Joey. You'll get back to me because I'm a partner for life. I saw that despite Zelensky's harassing you, you snuck out behind Ukraine's back. You bypassed Congress for me to come home to me with two beautiful Christmas gifts of over $147 million in fluffy artillery and blinging tanks. That's my boo. It's really warmed my heart. But you know what? It's not enough, Habibi. Valentine's Day is around the corner. I'm watching and I'm waiting. Please don't fail me. Lovingly, your Habibi Nitin Yahoo. So, while we examine this letter very, very closely, it is extremely evident that a detailed discourse analysis illustrates with great confidence that there is deep concern that the United States has failed Israel on numerous occasions to fulfill its obligation to provide the necessary support to continue Israel's job of its settler colonial project. Having said that, we continue to look for more evidence and more signs of this process, but as it stands, we're finding a lot of evidence to support that. Thank you, Bassam. Thank you, Sinan.
That was heavy. Thank you, Adel, for your comment. Thanks, Sinan, for your comment, and I'd like to thank myself for mine. Any other comments before we close, folks? Any other comments on the topic?
Hang in there, folks.
I have a comment. I honestly think that every American citizen, in order to support Israel further, because we're not doing enough, should donate one kidney to an illegal Israeli settler. Even if they don't need it, even if they just use it to play around, we should do that. Maybe then we will live up to شو عم تعمل عادل?
I'm trying to retrieve my kidney, but
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this emergency teaching. Join us next week for the 8th emergency teaching under the title, because we can guess these shocking developments 1 week ahead of time, under the title, Can Palestinians Be Traumatized? Assalamu alaikum and bonsoir.
Dr. Henry Kissinger, who has left us peacefully tonight. We are big admirers of Henry Kissinger, who laid down the foundations of so many great decisions of his and processes which he has led, which has brought results that we feel until today, peaceful results. He laid the cornerstone of the peace agreement which were later signed with Egypt. In our last conversation, he ended the call by saying, "Mr. President, please know I've always loved and admired and supported the state of Israel, and so I've always felt his love and compassion for Israel and his belief in the Jewish state."
You noted the passing of Henry Kissinger. Secretary Kissinger really set the standard for everyone who followed in this job. I was very privileged to get his counsel many times, including as recently as about a month ago. He was extraordinarily generous with his wisdom, with his advice. Few people were better students of history. Even fewer people did more to shape history than Henry Kissinger. Thank you.